Dunwall always has a way of turning sour.
This is Dunwall. What you see right here.
The sounds and smells of Dunwall never change much.
In Dunwall, things are always tangled up like a bag of snakes.
Dunwall is the capital of Bristol and of the Empire of the Isles. It's also the industrial heart and center of the vital whaling industry. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, cities in the Empire, and setting for Dishonored, the DLCs, and the bookend missions of Dishonored 2. This massive city, inspired by Victorian London, Edinburgh, as well as various whaling towns in North America, is far too vast to fully be understood in one video. But we can at least get a taste of it. That taste is smoke and river crusts, but still. 1,000 years before the events of Dishonored, there was another city on the site along the Wrenhaven River. A city where people worshipped the outsider openly, such that artifacts from this time are still found washed up on the riverbank. Long after this city disappeared, what would become Dunwall began as a cluster of fishing and whaling shacks. The Academy of Natural Philosophy was founded there in 1572, but it remained a small town until after the War of Four Crowns, when the new Emperor Finlay Morgengard made it the capital of the unified empire in 1627. Soon after, he commissioned a fleet of whaling ships, beginning the whaling industry. The city grew rapidly along the rocky outcroppings and high cliffs, eventually covering almost 20 square miles. The Abbey of the Everyman established itself in the city in 1701. The city was only seriously threatened during the Morley Insurrection of 1801 to 1803, when guerrillas used the sewers to move around and launch attacks that ended with the assassination of Empress Larissa Olaskir. Morleyan ships attacked the fort at King Sparrow Island, the city's only seaward defense 4 miles downriver where it meets the sea. Emperor Euhorn Kaldwin embarked on a massive renovation, reforming the sewer system and building Kaldwin's Bridge, which connects both sides of the river and allows passage of large ships upriver. Many houses and businesses lie along this bridge, including Anton Sokolov's apartments. You can see the remains of older bridges that have collapsed or were demolished that would block modern river traffic. Kaldwin also established the City Watch in 1809. After Esmond Roseborough discovered the industrial power of refined whale oil, it became the hub of technology as well, with factories springing up in every district. This increased exponentially with the alliance of Roseborough and Anton Sokolov in 1820. Dunwall is a city of districts: industrial, commercial, and residential. One's experience will depend entirely on where you find yourself in it, which is to say, what your social status is. Districts nearer to Dunwall Tower are generally wealthier than those farther away. Transportation between them is accomplished as much by boat as by roads, and in addition to navigation along the river, there are numerous smaller waterways, such as Serpentine Canal and Millinery Canal. The Distillery District is the home of the well-known Old Dunwall whiskey brand. Known for criminals and slums, and the distillery itself has been in the hands of gangs off and on over the years. However, prominent citizens such as Dr. Galvani and the art dealer Bunting live here on Clavering Boulevard. Located nearby is the Golden Cat, the city's most well-known bathhouse and brothel. Holger Square is the headquarters of the overseers of the Abbey and location of the Office of the High Overseer. The Estate District is the home to many wealthy aristocrats, such as the Boyles and, previously, the Morays. Very near to this is the Clock Tower and Parliament, thought to be inspired by Big Ben and Westminster. Many fans have expressed a desire to visit the Clock Tower, and, annoyingly, a mission involving it was supposedly intended for Dishonored 2, but was cut. The tower was severely damaged when the Rat Gang bombed it in 1852. The Rudshore Financial District was Dunwall's financial heart, hosting the Rudshore Chamber of Commerce as well as the powerful Greaves Lightning Oil Company. Neglect and the rat plague led to the breaking of levees and flooding of the district, which was used for disposal of plague dead, and became home to Delilah's Coven briefly, and then Dowd's Whalers. The Old Port District was, as its name implies, one of the oldest parts of Dunwall, directly across the river from Dunwall Tower, and home to the 300-year-old Hound Pits pub. This area was quarantined during the plague, and thus became the headquarters of the Loyalist conspiracy. It was also one location of the Diger Dial Company, which manufactures all those whale oil containers. Slaughterhouse Row is an industrial district nestled in a bay past a turn of the river, where many whale slaughterhouses are located. These facilities, such as Rothwild's operation, are generally more modern than older companies like Greaves, which can be more spread out around the city. The legal district is home to many of the city's law offices, including the crooked barrister Arnold Timpsch. The waterfront section of this district is home to the Blackfriar Hotel and the Smoke Street Dice Hall, though this area has often been dominated by the Hatter Gang. This was the original location of the Bitterleaf Almshouse before it relocated to the Distillery District. Draper's Ward was an industrial textile district in the past, but was reinvented by Mortimer Hatt and his associates into a high-end shopping destination. Rosewine Industries produces much of the sewing and weaving equipment for this district, but both the Hatter and Dead Eels gangs have fought over this turf and its valuable access to Millinery Canal and the river. Several miles upriver, the Mutcherhaven district serves as country estates for old aristocratic families, such as the Brigmores and Inchmouths. Though mostly abandoned, several manors can still be found perched on the high cliffs on either side of the river. After Delilah's witches were evicted from Brigmore Manor, in the 1850s it was renovated by exotic liqueur entrepreneur Azaria Fillmore, who was once known as Slackjaw. The Tower District is the area immediately surrounding Dunwall Tower, the palace home of the Empire's rulers. In addition to upscale apartment homes, this district houses light commercial concerns such as the Dunwall Courier newspaper and Boyle Industries administrative offices. The Black Pony Pub is located there, where you can get a gin sling cocktail. They'll make it hot if you prefer, and if they like you. During Euhorn Caldwin's rule, the street leading onto the tower grounds was open to the public. Coldridge Prison is adjacent to the tower, and was originally built to house prisoners of the Morley insurrection. It was owned by the iron-fisted Julie Coldridge until her assassination during the 1827 March of the Oil Bloods. In addition to these locations, there are others which are not encountered in the games but only referenced. The Civil Services District is home to multiple vital infrastructure administrations, city planning offices, and courts. This district oversaw food rationing during the plague. The Tailors District was home to many skilled clothiers, but not an industrial area like Draper's Ward. It was the site of protests and food riots harshly suppressed by Hiram Burroughs during the plague. The Dunwall Water District is not so much a location, but a network of agencies all over the city tasked with ensuring Dunwall's water supply, maintaining canals, and sewers. Their employees were exposed to the most heavily infected areas during the plague. The Rust District is an industrial district along the river where Barrington Iron Works is located, depicted briefly in the Dishonored comics. The new Mercantile District began as a suburb adjacent to the Estate District, outside Dunwall's old walls, but was abandoned and later incorporated into the city during the post-plague expansion. The Old Waterfront is another old industrial area downriver from Draper's Ward. It contains a few factories and a small slaughterhouse. Its lack of homes leaves it largely empty at night, making it a perfect spot for Corvo Attano to train Emily in combat, stealth, and weapons. This area is the setting of the optional tutorial in Dishonored 2. The Wormwood District is encountered in the Dishonored comics and the novel The Return of Dowd. It's one of the oldest parts of Dunwall, and the home of the occult black market. The main street is Wormwood Way, and Suicide Hall Tavern is the headquarters of the Six Ways gang. The Downmarket district is a poor residential neighborhood and was home to Roseboro Industries until Esmond Roseboro took his own life. This is also where the rat plague began in Dunwall as part of Hiram Burroughs' plan to exterminate the poor. Next to it is the even poorer slum, the Debris District. The Academy District is the home of the Academy of Natural Philosophy. It also includes the Port Authority, as well as embassies from the other nations of the Empire. The Stacks neighborhood provides housing for Academy members and students. This area was quarantined early on during the plague and was not damaged very much. As can be seen from the differing districts, Dunwall, like Bristol as a whole, is a city of extreme social class division. The large working poor underclass was the target of Burroughs' biological warfare, considered as useless by the upper classes. Dunwall society is also rather xenophobic, suspicious of outsiders, even if they attain high status, such as Corvo Attano and Anton Sokolov. Aristocrats believe that intermarriage with those from outside Bristol dirties the blood. The poor rely mostly on canned, processed foods such as potted whale and eel, while the upper class dines on fresh-caught fish, domesticated blood ox and gazelle, and fine wines and whiskies from abroad. A map from 1837 indicates a population of about 200,000, though it's not clear if this figure is pre- or post-plague. Architecture is also defined by social class. Buildings such as the Golden Cat boast columns, carved marble, gardens, and ornamental gilding, while buildings in poorer districts are more utilitarian and also suffer the most neglect during the plague. On the other hand, due to its position as the technological heart of the empire, almost every home has electric lighting and heating powered by whale oil. Steam and electric ships provide the bulk of transport in and out of Dunwall. Electric trains and rail cars are seen in every part of the city, and although indoor plumbing seems rudimentary as of 1837, by 1852 many homes have flushing toilets and bathtubs. But technology is also used for control of movement and population, including arc pylons, walls of light, and tallboys. These were used to enforce quarantine during the plague, and became standard tools of power thereafter. During the rat plague brought by Hiram Burroughs, entire districts and neighborhoods were depopulated. Only those wealthy enough to obtain steady supplies of elixir were able to remain healthy, and elites such as the Boyles threw masquerade balls to take their minds off the horrors outside their estate walls. Gangs took over whole sections of the city, almost becoming governments themselves, even to the point of supplying bootleg elixir to the citizens. When Burroughs feared his plan was about to be discovered, he had Empress Jessamine Caldwin assassinated. After being exposed and overthrown by the Loyalist conspiracy, a short-lived regency by Admiral Havelock was followed by the crowning of Emily Caldwin, with Corvo Attano as a de facto regent for some time after. During this time, the flooded district was drained and restoration began, and the gangs were fought back as more and more of them who'd grown rich during the plague turned to more
legitimate enterprises.
Some left for easier pickings in Karnaca, joining outfits like the Howlers or the Eyeless. With the passing of the plague, the other nations of the empire lifted their blockades, and travel and trade resumed. This allowed the expansion of the city beyond the old defensive walls. Older industrial concerns, such as Greaves Oil, closed their original facilities and moved to more practical locations, leaving space for new residential development and gentrification. Dunwall suffered localized destruction during Delilah's brief reign in 1852. The Tower District was severely damaged by violence, especially during a failed attack by elements of the City Watch and overseers led by Yul Kulan. Delilah's witches set fire to and partially destroyed the Parliament building to distract her enemies, resulting in dozens of deaths.
That's a shame.
Morley and Tivia refused to recognize her rule, threatening war and cutting off trade and travel. After her defeat, restored Emily fought to both rebuild the city and her own reputation among the Empire's powerful. The anarchist rat gang spread chaos by murdering reconstruction crews, and Democratic reformer Archibald Wainwright questioned the wisdom of putting the people's welfare in the constantly changing hands of fickle monarchs. Not that a psychopathic demagogue propped up by a mob of morons is any better. For almost a century, Dunwall served as a wellspring for innovation and change, for good or ill. But even with the restoration of Empress Emily in Dishonored 2 and the return of order, it's hinted that the increasing rarity of whales and their precious oil threatens the industrial might of the city, even as Karnaca turns to wind power to compensate. Like so many post-industrial cities in our world, Dunwall faces a crossroads moment as it must figure out how to endure and prosper in a changing environment. Voices like Wainwright's have made clear the instability inherent in vesting so much power in a single ruler. And with the decline of the whales, the elite's industrial monopoly can only slip further. The fall of the outsider and the dissolution of the abbey leave power vacuums which cannot last long, and it's certain that whatever fills them, Dunwall will find itself at the center of it.